All right, so this is the Brown Duke Gun Show. My name is JP. I am here today with Brandon, and we are the official podcast for Century Defense Indoor Range in Youngsville, Louisiana. If you are around the area, please come and shoot with us. And if you're not in the area, please come and shoot with us. It's a lot of fun, a lot of good folks at the range, and you'll have a great time. This is episode 10. So thank you all to those who are watching, listening, wherever you get this content. Thank you for supporting us. We're going to continue to do the same thing. We're going to try to continue to improve. You will start to see, hopefully we'll get some guests on sometime soon. And so we'll do that. I think the other thing to mention is that we are still battling social media. And not being censored by social media. In fact, Brandon was telling me today that one of the posts for the shooting club got taken down
last night.
Yep. For no reason at all. Really,
there's a video of Chad shooting Steel Challenge, and we said that we have league night every Thursday. And it was like, nope, against community standards.
That's too spicy for Facebook. So we are moving to be a more of a Twitter first, Spotify first. YouTube is still doing really well for us, so we're going to continue up with the YouTube. But we're going to try to also post our content on Rumble and like Twitter, like I said, more the short form stuff, maybe on TikTok and stuff like that, just the places where we're not getting banned so you can continue to get the show, right?
And we also try to post it on Century Defense's YouTube page.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, so we're going to get that squared away too. So yeah, thank you for that. Like and subscribe. Tell all your friends. Let us know if you have any questions. I do have an email address for the show. questions@thebrowndukigunshow.com. Just send in any of your questions you have. So with that, today, episode 10 is something that was requested by the range staff. This is range etiquette. So in other words, what do you do? What are the best practices to have when you go to the range? So, and I imagine that this was inspired by some craziness that's happened at the range, right?
After 7 years of being open, you see everything.
I bet. Yeah.
And you talk to any other range like around the country, it's the same thing, right?
Sure.
Everybody deals with it. So
yeah, no, I was thinking about actually inviting Jeff Sanford, who owns Shiloh, or who used to own Shiloh in Texas, because he used to tell us stories whenever we'd have shooting over there. We'd had the USPSA club over there, and he would just tell the stories of the week.
We did that in Vegas at SHOT Show. We were at dinner with Primary Machine, and they were asking us questions because they were so interested in hey, how do y'all deal with the public, because their doors are usually closed. So we were sharing stories, and they were laughing, and we were laughing at all their internet stories, right? Because they have online orders, and people are contacting them hey, where did you get this, or where did you get that? Complaining about their order and different things. So it was funny.
I imagine. I can only imagine the stories. So let's start just at the very beginning, best practices. So when thinking about going to a gun range, be it indoor or outdoor, Brandon, what do you think are the first things that somebody should do?
Know the safety rules, right? So research, see if they have a website. Usually if they do have a website, they have range safety rules that are posted on their website. So make sure you read all those safety rules. That way, before you go in, you kind of have an idea of what they expect, right? Because every range is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. So I definitely think that you should do that first. Once you get there, I would say walk in with no guns or anything, and just kind of feel it out and see what's going on or how they want you to bring in guns, or you can call. Right. We have a lot of people that do that too. They call in and say, hey, I'm planning to come into the range. Do y'all take walk-ins? And if so, how do I come in with the gun? Do y'all want it in a case or a bag? Can I just have it out? What's the proper etiquette doing it? And we really appreciate that. We enjoy those phone calls, because then we can tell them exactly how we want the guns coming in.
Right. So at Century Defense, what do you want?
At Century Defense, we want it to be in a gun case, a bag, or a holster or something. We don't want to have it in your hands.
Okay.
We don't care if it's loaded or not loaded. If it's loaded in a holster, that's okay. Just don't touch it. Right. Just don't have it in your hands. Don't walk in with a gun in your hands. If for some reason you don't have a gun case and you have a gun that's in the vehicle, walk in and you say, hey, I don't have a gun case. We'll give you a tote if it's a handgun. That way you can put the handgun in the tote and you can bring it in. Or if it's a long gun and it doesn't fit in one of those little totes that we have, you can just put like a chamber flag. We'll give you a chamber flag. It's usually just weed eater string. So if you want to do that at your house, cut up weed eater string and you make chamber flags, making sure that it's in the chamber to where there's nothing else that can go in there.
Yeah. So, I think that sounds all reasonable. Let's go into what specifically not to do. I mean, there's so many things that you shouldn't do.
Yep.
But number one, I think don't walk into the gun range with your gun in your hand, pointing it at people.
Yep.
Okay.
And not even just point, like there are people that walk in and they're not pointing at people. They're like pointing it down the ground, but it's like in their hand, like in a firing position, right? Like with their right hand on the gun. They might have their finger straight, hopefully. Like sometimes it's not, but most of the time it is. And it's like pointing in the same direction. And we like meet them at the door, right? Because like we'll see them coming in. So we'll meet them at the door, stop them, clear the gun. Like we take possession of the gun, clear it, and then we'll bring it in and put it in a tote. And some of them get upset at first, right? They're like, they feel offended. They're like, I can't believe you're gonna come and take my gun, from me. Like I know how to handle guns and everything. It's like, yeah, but look at what you're doing. Right. If you said it earlier, if you walk into any other store, like if you walk into Home Depot with a gun like that, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah. Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Like
you're going to get tackled.
Yeah. Just because you're at a gun store does not make it okay to walk in with a gun in your hand.
Right.
Like have it in a holster, have it in a case, in a bag, something.
Yeah.
Right. To where it's not directly in your hands.
Yeah. I thought of this example. It's kind of a funny example. I thought about this after we recorded the other day, is that, if you're going to the doctor because you had something wrong with like your private parts, you wouldn't walk into the doctor just exposing yourself to everybody. Hey, take a look at this, right?
I'm ready to go.
Yeah. It's the same thing.
Yep.
Nobody wants to see it.
Nope.
keep it bagged up, zipped up, holstered, whatever it is you got to do.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
that's another thing too, is like people come in and it's like they might have a rare gun or something and it might be a really cool gun, but most of the time it's just like a standard gun you can buy off the shelf, right? And they're like, they kind of want to show it off, right? Yeah. They're like, hey, check out this new gun that I just bought. And it's like, man, like I really don't want to. The more chances of the gun getting handled, the more chances of it going off. Right. So we want to keep it inside the bag at all times. We'll check your ammo and things like that, but we don't want to check the gun. We don't want to like go through the bags and take out the guns and put them back. We just want to check the ammo.
Right. That's it. Right. Yeah. So then, okay. So don't bring the gun, point it at anybody. We're assuming that you have a case, right?
Yep.
Now, what if you don't have a case?
So like I said, you can come in and you can get a tote, those little cart things, and you just put it in there and then bring it in. That way it's not in your hands and we'll clear it whenever it comes in. Or if it's a long gun, put a chamber flag in it.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think, and if you're going to a range that's not Sentry, I think that, it's even more important to go and ask.
Yeah.
Just go in and ask, I don't have a bag for my rifle, or I don't have a holster for my pistol. What do you want me to do?
Yep. And we strongly suggest the case and stuff. The only reason why we allow that to happen is because we want people to come and shoot, right? Like we want them to know how to use their firearm and be able to shoot that day. So we're trying not to be like rude about it or anything, but there's also a safety precaution. So walk in and say, hey, I don't have the case, and then we'll explain what to do.
Yeah. So that's walking in with your own guns, okay? So now you also have a retail space at Sentry. There are a lot of other gun places that have retail spaces as part of the range, right? So these rules also apply to that, right? So like, for example, if you want to look at a new gun, okay, or a scope, or you have a rifle that has a sighting mechanism on it, okay? Same rules apply. You don't want to wave that gun around at other people. You don't want to point it at other people. This is all bad things to do, right?
Right, yeah. The 4 firearm safety rules always apply. It's never a time where it's like, oh, it's okay because I'm looking at this new gun. Like they always apply all the time. So whenever you are looking at a new gun, number one, like don't take out your gun to compare it. So like at a range, a lot of times that will happen because they just finished shooting their gun. So like, oh, I want to compare the size of it or something. Like leave your gun where it's at, right? Because we don't know what condition it's in. Ask them, hey, I have this gun. Do you have one similar to it? They might have one behind the shelf that they can compare it to another brand new one, right?
Right.
So leave your gun where it's at, especially if it's in a holster. We see that a lot. People will take out their gun out of the holster and try to compare it or try to feel the differences between it. So just leave it there. And if you are looking at a new gun, make sure you're not pointing at people while you're messing with it.
Yes, don't point guns at people. I think that as a general rule, don't point guns at people, right? Yeah, that's a good way to not be shot.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so now we've made it into the range. We've looked at some new guns that we may want to buy or checked out some stuff. Now it's time for us to go into the actual shooting area, right? So let's take it from Sentry Defense perspective first, right? Etiquette from, going into the range, posting up your target, where to keep your guns, where to not keep your guns, that kind of thing.
Yep. So at our range, we have a red line, that's the firing line, and each booth is rifle rated for ballistics. So if you're inside the booth, you're safe from everybody but yourself, right, with a gun,
Right?
Because the bullets cannot go through the walls. So we want all the gun handling to be inside the booth at all times. If you have a gun case or a bag or anything like that, you bring the whole case up to the booth, unload the gun there, and then you can go put the case wherever you want to, right? If you go to reload the gun, put the gun back in the case, don't bring the gun to the case, bring the bag up to the booth and then load it back there. So we don't want any guns coming out of the booth whatsoever. Right whenever we open, people always wanted tables behind the booths. So other ranges, they might have that. They'll have these big tall tables that you can load mags and stuff like that with, and it's super convenient. The downside is that every range that I've been to, there's always someone messing around with a gun there. Every single one. I've never been to one. It's like everybody was safe, right? So there's somebody's like, oh, it's just real quick. I need to hurry up and look at the sight on this gun while my buddy's shooting. So I'm going to look at it on this back table. And then he's flagging people. And it's even if he's not doing that, if he's doing it in a safe manner, you're shooting and there's someone playing around with a gun behind your back, right? I don't know that person personally. So there's very few people. It's probably a handful of people that I trust with guns behind my back that are loaded. So if I don't know you, I don't trust you with it.
Right.
So I'd never put tables, and there never will have tables back there because of that reason.
Yep, absolutely. One thing that I've seen that is a big no-no, right? And it's not, I have not just seen it at your range, but other ranges, indoor, outdoor, wherever you have stalls. One piece of range etiquette that I'll tell you, the stall is not a barricade, right? Don't use that thing as a barricade.
Yep. Yep.
Because the guns, right, they belong inside the stall, completely enclosed by the stall. They don't have any business coming anywhere near the outside of the stall unless it is cased, muzzle up, unloaded, and you're leaving.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. So the firing line is where your muzzle should be at. It should be at the firing line or past it. Right. So you're not supposed to cross the firing line if you're with your feet, but the muzzle of the gun. So if you have a rifle, especially a rifle, we want the muzzle to be past the firing line. So we're sticking past the red line. That makes sure that's the way the booster's set up. Make sure that all the blast baffles and things like that in the front are not impacting the other shooters. There's no brass cases that's flying everywhere and all that stuff. And it's still in a safe position.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think somebody shot one of the electronics, right?
Not at our place, but I've heard that from other ranges. Yeah, the side of the walls and things. There's some ranges that have barricades that's actually bolted to the side of the booths, and they can swivel them out and stuff.
Right.
And it's for police qualifying, right? And they had a police officer, a department asked, they're like, hey, what about getting those for us and everything? I was like, I would love to get them for y'all, but no, because people are going to come in and it's like, oh, I could use this, and try to play a movie scene or something where they're having the gun pointed up and peeking around the corner or something.
Jeez. Yeah. So, no, that's terrible.
Yeah, we never did that.
So that's Sentry, and that's probably indicative of most, if not all, indoor ranges. Okay. Yep. Now let's take that same question to the outdoor range. Okay. So now we are a lot of the outdoor ranges I've been to, you pull up to an outdoor shooting area, right, where everybody's in a set of stalls. There's some benches, there's some rifle racks and stuff like that. First thing to look for, I think, when you're going to that situation, outdoor range, is take a look at the number of people that are on the range, right, and if they're actively shooting, right. And then if they are actively shooting, then there's probably a range officer out there. Leave your guns in the truck, leave your guns in the car, don't touch them. Put your ear pro on, eye pro, and all that stuff. Go to the range officer and ask when the next, what do they call it? The ceasefire is going to be, right?
The same thing as indoor range. Don't just start unloading guns immediately, right? Assess what's going on, see what's happening. Just look at how other people are acting. And that usually would be okay, this is what the standard's supposed to be.
Right. So then once you get there, the range officer will have, a time when it's appropriate for you to take out the guns, but ask, right?
Yep.
When can I take them out? Where can I put them? What can I do? Get that really clear, right?
Yep.
What not to do is just to start bringing out guns, from your truck, from your car, from your bag as people are shooting, because it puts them, it creates the same scenario that you talked about for why you don't put tables in the back of your indoor range, right? You don't do that because you don't want to have people manipulating firearms behind you when you're shooting, something in front of you.
Yep. Yeah, I actually had that situation happen to me at an outdoor range here. We were shooting. It was just me and like two other guys. We walked down range. We turn on the buzzers and stuff to like let everybody know, like, hey, we're walking down range.
Right.
But it was just us at the range. So we walk down there. We're at like 100 yards or so, and this car pulls up. So we don't think anything of it. And all of a sudden, like this guy starts unloading guns, like in his hands and like setting them up on the benches.
Yeah.
And like we're down range and he's setting them up down range. And I'm like, what, for what reason? So finally I yell at him like, hey, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And approach him. And he didn't think anything of it. He's like kind of, taken away at first, like, well, why is this guy yelling at me? And then once I explained to him, like, man, we're down range, like, you're taking out guns. He's like, yeah, but they're all unloaded. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know that. Like, I'm 100 yards away. Like, I don't know what you're doing at that time. And he understood at that point. He's like, yeah, I get it now. If I put myself in your shoes, then I can see. And I'm like, yeah, just like think a little bit. And honestly, he didn't mean to make that mistake, right?
Yeah.
He just didn't think he was doing anything wrong. So that's why I always say, like, get out, assess what's going on, and like really think, like, hey, is it safe to like do this right now? Like, if I was those people, would I want someone taking out guns out of their vehicle?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely wait for them to come back, not downrange, and then ask them and kind of get there because they were there first, right? So like, hey, are y'all okay with me taking out guns right now? Then yes, then we can go from there.
Yeah. No, that's good. So, okay. So now we have brought our guns to the firing line in a safe manner, have not threatened anybody by pointing guns at people, like all of that stuff, right? Now it's time for us to fire, load up and fire and do all of that stuff, right? Now we're clear to do that. Some rules or some best practices around how to do that safely.
Yeah, there's some places that will allow you to draw. We allow you to draw from the holster at Century. You have to get cleared by a range officer and stuff. But some places don't allow you to do that, so know what the range rules are for that. Some of them allow you to go like high ready or low ready with rifles and things. Like we do that as long as you're cleared. But just know what's acceptable and what's not at certain ranges, right?
Right.
Also, like rapid fire things. There's some ranges that say you can't rapid fire at ranges because of noise, or they're just worried about it staying on paper or anything. We do allow you to do that as long as you stay on paper. We try to make the rules to where as long as you're doing the right things, we want you to practice the right things or the things that you have to practice. But some ranges don't allow that, right? Especially like bigger franchise ranges that don't have, experienced range officers working there or just like anybody working there. So they're kind of worried about that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and being honest, it's a worry.
Yeah, it
right?
is a worry. You're 100%.
Because you see, the bullet strikes all over Century. Whenever you guys are cleaning up, it's on the range equipment, it's on the side baffles, it's on the walls, it's on the floor. It's like, where are you guys shooting?
You wouldn't believe like how many people we have to stop coming from in the range because they don't have sights on the gun, right? Like they. It's like they buy an AR-15 and it's like flat top receiver and they come in and like want to shoot it. And like, you can't shoot this gun here. And they're like, why not? It's like, you don't have sights on the gun. We're like, I'm just going to point it down range and shoot. It's like, where are you going to hit at? Like, I don't want you tearing up range equipment, right? Like you have to have some type of sighting system on the gun. So they have to like go buy like flip ups, iron sights or like some type of red dot or something. And it's like, how do you plan on shooting this gun if you don't have any sights on it?
Right? Yeah, what was you were just gonna?
That's a safety rule.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
safety rule.
Don't put your finger on the trigger until your sights are on target, right?
Exactly.
So then,
how do you do that? It's crazy. I had another guy. We had to like stop him. He was dual wielding. Right? Like he had two pistols out and I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I'm, dual wielding. I'm like, no, absolutely not.
Can't
like,
do that.
You cannot do that.
We were at a local range, outdoor range shooting, and there was a guy who asked, we were going through their safety brief, and there was a guy who was asking if they could buddy practice or something like that, where they both had 2 live guns shooting at the same time in one bay. I was like, have you lost your mind?
Yeah, there's
like,
no way.
What are you doing?
It's funny, like whenever I was like making all the range rules and stuff, like you research other range rules and you kind of like pick and choose which ones you want. And like there's something to like, there's no way that someone's going to try to do this, right? Like I'm just going to just put it in there just in case. And it's like, sure enough. Like dual wielding, right?
Dual wielding.
Yep. Shooting someone else's target. Like
yes, that was going to get into that one. Do not shoot somebody else's target. Only shoot your own. Right? I mean, I think there's also that whole rule of, know the target and what's behind it.
That's a huge thing. Yeah, we see that like weekly at least. People are shooting, they put up a target and they'll put a target at 4 yards or so and they'll start shooting the head. Well, eventually, like the gun is angled up, right? So it eventually hits the roof, like it hits the ceiling, right? And we're like, hey, you're shooting the ceiling. And they're like, no, I'm shooting the head. It's like, yeah, but where does the bullet go after?
Yes.
Right? The piece of paper doesn't stop the bullet. It's going to go through that. So one of the 4 firearm safety rules is know what your target is, what is in front of it, what is behind it. So it's going to go through there. If it ends up in the ceiling, it's not a safe direction. We want to be in the trap, in the rubber trap at all times.
Yeah.
We see it with shooting other people's targets on an accident. If they're standing like all the way on the left side of the booth and they're shooting on the right side of the target, like there's little stars and stuff on the right side of the target that might be shooting at, and their booth next to them has their target at 25 yards. So by the time that travels down there, it's actually impacting their target. So like take a peek around the target, look and see like, hey, what's the trajectory going to look like? Is it going to end up inside the next lane, or is it going to end up in a trap or somewhere else where I don't want it to end up? So just confirm that before you start shooting any target that you're going to shoot.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Yeah. So I think that's, whether you're indoor, outdoor, it doesn't matter. Know what's behind your target. I mean, don't put up a target that's, on a piece of plywood outdoor and it's a wide open field in the back. You don't know where that bullet's going to land. So yeah, don't do that.
There's people that do that at their house all the time. Right?
Yes.
Like put it up in cane fields and like the cane is not going to stop it. Right.
Yeah.
Or they put it up next to woods. It's like, what is in those woods? Like, like what's behind there, what's walking through there. What if there's a kid walking through the woods or something?
Exactly.
Like make sure there's a trap or some type of berm or something that's going to stop the bullet.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, when I first moved here, I think I told you the story. I was looking for gun ranges and one was a person's backyard in a cane field.
Yep.
And we had to ride an ATV to get back there. And he's like, yeah, you can shoot all you want. I was like, I'm not shooting here.
The's a neighborhood on the side of it, right?
Yeah. It was, I guess the range.
Yeah, I know the range.
I mean, he was a nice enough guy, super nice guy, but it's like, it's exactly. It's like, I put myself as a kid. It's like, if I were a kid, this would be a great place to have a fort.
Great. Yep.
It
would be great. Yep.
So, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
And like, you are ultimately responsible for that, right? Like, you're responsible for the bullet that comes out the gun. So even if you're at his place, it's like you still fired the shot.
I still fired the shot. Yeah. And you can't take it back.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So, all right. So now we're finished shooting. Okay. Now it's time to clean up and bring our guns, pack them up and leave. Right. Etiquette to do that. Let's start indoor range first.
Yeah, so pack up your guns. Make sure that you have everything, and how you pack them up is bring the cases to the firing line, indoor or outdoor. That way you're not transferring guns back and forth, right? So bring the whole case up there, load up the guns, and then put the cases wherever you want to. After that, it's usually like recommended, like bring in your target. Make sure that the booth is ready for the next person. So sweep up all the brass, take everything off the tables. If you have any trash or anything like that, go throw them in trash cans. And get it kind of cleaned up and make it nicer for the person that's coming up after you, right? So even if you clean up a little bit on the other side of your booth, like do that, right? We talked about brass one time.
Yes.
So like if you do want to pick up brass, like, you can pick up your brass at our place. All we ask is like, don't pick up other people's brass, right? Because sometimes that gets annoying. Even if they like don't care about their brass and you see them like throwing it away, it just gets kind of annoying while they're shooting. You're like at their feet trying to pick up brass, and now they can't concentrate on what they're trying to do.
Right.
So it just gets very annoying. Try to just pick up yours, and then ask your range if you can pick it up, because some ranges won't let you do that. It's like lost brass. So make sure you know the rules of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only thing I can add to that is that, for outdoor range, well, when you're in indoor range, it's easy to pull your targets in, and you can do that at your leisure. When you're going to an outdoor range, you'll probably have to wait for the next ceasefire to go clean up your target. So, I know that several outdoor ranges have a procedure around that, not just, when you can go, request a ceasefire or all of that, or maybe they happen every 15 minutes or so. But then also they say, okay, well, you shouldn't do XYZ thing until a ceasefire. Maybe you shouldn't take your guns off of the range until a ceasefire.
Yeah.
Because to go back to that one reasoning you had for no tables, you don't want people monkeying around with guns behind you while you're shooting.
Yep.
So I've seen that rule too.
Yeah, and most of the time, like outdoor ranges, they'll have like gun racks, and they're behind the firing line. So people like transferring back and forth, so they won't let you do that unless it's ceasefire or something.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
that makes
absolutely.
sense. And sometimes, like if you can, like if you have to be in a rush, you can't go get your target like at an outdoor range or something. Like maybe like ask the guy that's shooting next to you, like, hey man, whenever y'all call a ceasefire, can you go grab my target for me? Whenever y'all go walk down there, and he'll probably say yes, right? And vice versa, if you're that person and someone asks you, like, go and pick up their target, right?
Yeah.
Like you're already walking down there anyway. Like if they have to leave for some reason, then be like, yeah, man, I'll get it for you. You don't have to wait another 20 minutes before we call a ceasefire. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, okay. So I think now we're packed up. We're walking out of the range, finish shooting for the day, return anything you rented, all of that stuff. I think that brings up one point though. If you did rent a gun from Sentry, I've seen this happen. And so I'm going to say it, right? If you rented a gun from Sentry, they're going to give it to you in a tote, unloaded, slide open, upside down in that tote. When you're finished with that gun, bring it back in the same condition they gave it to you in.
Yep.
Do not come out of the range having the gun in your hand. God forbid you have a magazine in it, because it puts you in that same situation that you're waving guns at people.
That's right. Because like our rental program, like if you rent the gun and you're like, hey, I want to try out like 2 or 3 different guns, right? We'll charge you for one rental gun, and then you can just come and switch them out, right? So you take in one gun, you go shoot it for a little while, you come back out, you switch it for another one. But so while they'll do that, they'll come out with the gun like in their hand, right? It's like, hey, I want to switch it out. It's like, we gave it to you in a tote, put it back in the tote, and then bring it back to us, and then we will take it from there and give you the new gun in the tote again.
Yeah.
Because now what happens is like you're bringing it out in your hands. We're going to give it back to you, which is a no-go for us. But then we're going to give it back to you in a tote because you can't walk in there with a gun in your hands.
Right.
So now you have 2 totes that are just hanging around, And if you don't know how to like lock it open or do anything like that, like if you're brand new to shooting and you're like, hey, I can't figure out this gun, it might be a new gun. Just like leave it on the range and come and get one of us, right?
Yeah.
Be like, hey, I don't know how to lock it open. Don't know how to make sure it's clear before I walk out. Can some of y'all come and get the rental gun? And we'll come and get it.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole lot easier than like trying to figure it out or walking out and be like, hey, I couldn't figure it out. I just walked out with it. Like, don't do that.
Yeah. Don't be that, at the range, particularly when you don't know what you're doing, is not the time to have like too much pride to ask for help.
That's right. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. It's never enough. Like, it's everybody's pretty relaxed, right? And if you go to a place that's not like that, or doesn't want to help you, like you probably shouldn't be there. Like pick another range.
Right. Yeah. So, okay, I think that's it. So now we've made it safely, into the range. We've shot, we've looked at some guns, we made it safely out of the range, following all of these, etiquette, recommendations, procedures, etc. Anything else you think you want to mention?
Just whenever you come out, the same thing is, like don't take out your gun while you're in the showroom, like looking at other guns and things like that. The silencers, like if you have silencers on the guns, like make sure they're cooled off before you put them back inside your bags and stuff.
Oh yeah, so they don't melt.
Yeah, they don't melt
bag.
things.
Yeah,
but other than that,
that's probably a best practice. Yeah, I think you should let the guns cool down before you rebag them. That's probably a good idea. Yep. Also, since you're leaving the range, once you get out to your car, don't start taking your guns back out again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the range's problem at that point. It's your problem with the police at that point, right? Let's not.
Yep.
Don't make yourself a target.
Yeah, exactly. Like if it's a concealed carry gun that you're gonna carry out of there, like load it at the firing line before you step off the range. Yeah. Right, load it at the firing line, put it in a holster, and then walk away. That's what we want you to do. Mm-hmm. Some ranges won't want you to have like a loaded gun walking around. So you'll have to like put it back in your vehicle, find a place maybe to get to, and then load it there and then drive away. But
not open air in the parking lot.
not in the parking lot. Yeah. Like you drive out the range, go to a different location and try to like do it in your vehicle.
A safe location, drive home or drive
That'd be the
somewhere.
best.
Yeah.
Best scenario is just drive home.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, okay. I think that's good. Anything else you want to mention about range etiquette?
Not range etiquette. We want to talk about gun store etiquette.
Yes, gun store etiquette. Yeah,
So
sure.
like some of the gun store etiquette, like we talked about, like just don't bring out guns for the safety part. Other things like whenever you're checking out a gun, like don't like John Wick it, right? Like don't rack the gun 10,000 times or like do something crazy with the gun. Like it's just there to kind of get the feel for the gun. Maybe try out the trigger and stuff, but we see some people that do that or like try to impress the gun store guy, right? The clerk. It's like, man, it's okay. You don't have to impress anybody, right?
Yeah.
Other things that we run into is transfers. I just made a post about this the other day. It was like 3 like monkeys that were sitting on a chair, and one of them was like, "Oh, my gun should be here at like 12:59," and at like 1 o'clock, they're like at the gun store, like, "Hey, my gun should be here," right? Like, says we have had people like that all the time. They have tracking numbers right on UPS now, and they'll sit on their phone and just keep refreshing it, right? And as soon as it says like package delivered, they're like at the door, right? They're like, "Hey, my gun should be here." I'm like, there's a process for this, right?
Right.
And number one, like usually the UPS person, like they'll check off a bunch of these before they even get to the shop, right?
Yeah.
Like they're like, deliver, and then they'll come and just drop them off.
Right.
So sometimes they're not there, and then sometimes, even if they are, we have to check them into our logbooks. We have to like call you and do all that stuff. Then you can come and pick them up and do a 4473. So we might have like a stack of boxes of 20 boxes or so that we haven't even opened up yet. Like we won't open up until the end of the day. Right. So just like hold tight, wait until we give you a call, and then you can come and pick up the gun from there.
Yeah. No, I think it's worth mentioning that when you say that there's a check-in process, it's a physical process. It's not just like the check-in process. A lot of people assume that the check-in process is the guy from UPS or FedEx hands you a box and like, boom, it's checked in.
It's
like,
done. Yeah,
no. You have, as an FFL, you have to open it. You have to look at the serial number. You have to see where it came from. You have to see, whatever. You write down the person's name. You have to find that person. You have to write down all this information, physically write it down into a book.
Yep. Yeah. Right? Like serial number, make, model of the firearm, the like who it is going to, what FFL it came from. We have to document that FFL. Then we'll document your phone number and give you a call from there. Then go put it in the back, right? So it's not just like you said, like the box is there and you can come and pick it up anytime. Like you have to fill out a background check. Well, how we know like what that background check goes to is we have to check in the gun first.
Right. And it's a non-zero amount of time, right? And chances are your gun is not the only gun that arrived that day.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So you'll have a stack of guns that show up at your door every single day, and you've got to go through that whole process of checking them all in. If it's 100 guns, it's 100 guns that day, right? So, it's the luck of the draw wherever you find yourself. And
exactly.
Yeah, just have patience with the range staff, be it Sentry Defense or anywhere else.
Yep.
It's a process.
It's a process. Yep. Yeah. Exactly. We usually try to check everything in. Like if there's 10 guns or so that come in, we'll check all the guns in and then just go down the list and just call all 10 people, because some people, they work really close and they're like really wanting this gun. So as soon as we give them a call, they're there. So we're like halfway through checking in one gun and we got to like start doing background checks and stuff. So it's just easier that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. No, that's a good point. Gun store etiquette. I'm trying to think of anything else that I could add in there. I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, like if you hear something on the internet or something, go to a gun store that you trust and be like, hey, do you have any experience with this firearm? And if you come to us, like we'll tell you if we have experience with it or not. Like there's some guns that we stock that we don't have experience with. Like we might have never shot them or we shot them very limited time. So we'll tell you like, hey, this is my experience from this limited amount of time that I have behind this gun.
Right.
It kind of sets us apart from everywhere else that I've been to, and I always wanted to keep that up. But there's a lot of other gun shops that might be like that. So ask them like, hey, do you have any experience with it? Don't say, what do you know about this gun? Because they could be getting the same information that you got off the internet, right?
Yeah.
So if you ask them for experience, that's a good way to kind of like throw them for a loop, I guess.
Yeah. Have you
how much
shot
they
it
watch.
before?
Yeah. Have you shot it before?
Yeah.
Right?
That's a good question. Yeah. Or, the other thing is, how many times have you seen these come in for repair?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. If
That's
they're a
another good
gunsmith
question.
on standby,
Yeah.
that's a good question.
Yeah. So, okay. Gun range etiquette or gun store etiquette. Anything else you think?
I think that's it.
Okay. Well, very good. That one's a good one. We got that one in can. Thank you, everybody who subscribed. Thank you for 10 episodes. We'll do at least 10 more.
Yep. Sure.
Like and subscribe wherever you get our podcast. And we will be seeing you later.